Hi, I'm Artyom Shamsudinov, and this is a presentation for Milestone 3 of the Airport Filecoin Development Grant. Airport is an application framework that allows to write cooperating applications on top of decentralized user data. So the main focus of this milestone has been developing actual application interoperability and cooperate and ability of applications to cooperate. So one thing that had to happen is internally, Airport is now tracking users. It's not yet dealing with decentralized identities or actually saving users, but it has the wiring that is needed for applications to be able to access user data and for user data to be used to save all of the actual data for users. So I'm going to enter a demo user here. And what you're seeing by default is that framework itself has a number of internal applications. And by default, it has no repositories. Repositories is how Airport splits up data between users so that different groups of users can have different data and it all can come together on user devices. So when I load up an application, you'll see that the framework actually loads up this application on top of another application that is dependent, that this application depends on. So this shows how applications will progressively load themselves and know the applications that they need. And then, of course, if I load one more application, that application also shows up in the framework itself, in the framework tab. So now let me create some data. And notice how I'm creating it in this application, localhost 3003, which is a goals application. And as soon as I do that and reload the other application, you'll see that this application also sees this record that was created. The reason being is because the record was created not only in this application, but also in this application. So the goals application ended up calling the conversations application and created and called its logic, and the conversations application created additional data records, but together they're stored in a single repository. So another thing that was added is that applications can now open up related data in other applications. So here, yeah, whoops, that's not working. I'll do it attempt. Let me try it the other way around. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to try to open it here. There, and I was able to open up the goals application from the conversations application. And same is true with raw data. So the framework itself, without knowing anything about the applications or having any knowledge of the UIs, is also able to take the raw data that's in there. In this case, it's a repository for the goal, and open it up. And there it is. So that is also so actually let me come here and I'm going to create a conversation. Make sure that shows up. There it is. There's a conversation. So another thing that was done during this milestone is ability for repositories to be interlinked with each other. So there's actually two different repositories here. There's a repository for the goal itself, and there's a separate repository for the conversation that's under it. And they're related to each other. So that is a critical piece of Airport, is ability for repositories to be looking each other up. So in this case, they were both created on the same device, but ultimately it would be possible for one repository to be loaded in this device and then have a reference to another remote repository and then load it progressively as data is requested by the user. So this is another critical piece that was done in this milestone. So you can see that I can also load that in the conversations application where I can enter comments. So this is the key piece that was done in this milestone. There was additional number, a large number of additional changes that was performed, but the key part is cross-application calls and transactions, meaning that when one application calls API of another application, that's included in the parent transaction, though as a sub-transaction, which can be rolled back if necessary. And the applications are seamlessly integrated, meaning that the state of the object that are being passed in from one application to the other is propagated back when the call returns, which is very important. And also this happens for the UIs, though the calls that UIs make and the objects that they sent in also get updated on the way back. So it's completely seamless integration. And that's part of the cross-application integration. Of course, users and user sessions are now tracked on a basic level, but that's what was required, and repositories reference each other, which is also a very key point. A number of additional things had to happen for this to work, so they were made. And with Milestone 3, the core functionality of Airport is now complete. This is how Airport will be working. And in the next milestone, I'll be working on actually building up the blockchain that is necessary for this to work out in the wild. And there's a number of tasks that will have to happen. Mostly it goes around user management and the actual blockchain. That is all I have. Thank you very much.